If you're a founder spinning out a startup from a university, then this video could save you months of costly mistakes and even the chance to win SBIR or STTR funding. Why? Because many university-based founders assume that owning the technology, impressing reviewers with their science, or relying on their lab support is enough to launch a successful company. Spoiler alert, it's not. Federal funders and investors want to see a real independent company that owns its IP, understands its market, and is built to execute beyond the campus. Without these, your startup risks getting stuck in legal limbo, losing credibility, or having your SBIR rejected even before it's reviewed. So in this video, I'm breaking down 3 critical things you must know about your IP ownership, market focus, and university involvement so that you can confidently navigate the path from lab to launch and unlock those vital early stage federal grants. So let's dive right in. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Stacy Chin, a professional federal grants and contracting consultant who has helped to raise over $40 million of non-dilutive funding for startups developing innovation in healthcare, climate, and defense. So like I've mentioned, I've come across way too many university founders who gets tripped up by IP ownership, confuse cool science with market demand, or lean in too hard instead of building a real company. And unfortunately, this plays a huge role when they go after SBIR or STTR grants. At the end of the day, reviewers don't want academic projects. They want legit startups ready to win. So let's jump into the first key consideration so we can get you started on the right footing. Number 1, your startup doesn't automatically own the IP, so know the tech transfer rules. Just because your name is on a university patent doesn't mean your startup owns the invention. Most universities claim ownership of the IP developed using university's resources, grants, or personnel, including your time as a faculty member or a student. So that means before you even start fundraising or applying for an SBIR or STTR grant, you'll need to engage in your university's tech transfer office. When working with the OTD, understand who owns what. You can identify other co-inventors like faculty, students, or postdoc, or start negotiations for an exclusive or non-exclusive license. And here's why this is important when going after an SBIR grant or other types of federal funding. Your startup cannot apply for federal funding to develop the technology if you do not have the rights to use it. Funders will ask if your company owns or have licensed the IP. If you don't have that squared away, your application might get flagged or rejected outright. So to overcome this hurdle, engage the university's tech transfer office early on to get that straightened away. Push for clear terms, whether that means royalty rates, sub-licensing rights, or IP improvements. And finally, get whatever you agreed on in writing. A letter of intent or an option agreement is sometimes enough for a phase 1 proposal. 2, the market doesn't care about your paper. It cares about the problem you solve. Most academic founders are trained to impress peer reviewers with novelty, rigor, and deep technical insights. But when you step into the world of commercialization, and particularly when you apply for SBIR or STTR grants, the criteria shifts from scientific excellence to market relevance. Just because your technology works in a controlled lab setting, was published in Nature or Science, or earned citations, it doesn't mean it's going to attract customers or justify a viable business model. In fact, many brilliant university technologies die on the vine because their inventors never really validated a real-world use case or market pull. So here's the reality. Reviewers don't fund science for science sake. They fund innovations that solve problems people care enough to pay for. Customers also don't care about p-values or publications. They care about whether your product makes them faster, cheaper, safer, or better off in any measurable way to get that competitive edge. Also, SBIR and STTR programs are commercialization vehicles. These taxpayer dollars are being invested to create economic value, not just knowledge. So then when writing your SBIR application, remember that federal reviewers are not just looking for cool tech, but rather they're evaluating whether or not your invention can address a clear, defined market need. This means you must specify exactly who your customer is, not vague categories like doctors or utilities, but real personas with real clear pain points. Again, reviewers want to see that you've identified a painful, urgent, and widespread problem, and that your solution is measurably better than the status quo. They'll also look for evidence and that you'll understand the path of getting your product to the market. And finally, reviewers want to know your business model. Who's going to pay for this? And how will the revenue sustain or grow the company? So if your application leads with market clarity or backs up with technical feasibility, then you're probably ahead with most of the submissions. 3, too much university involvement can spook SBIR reviewers and even your investors. One of the most common missteps that university-based founders make is not creating enough separation between their academic lab and their startup. And this can raise red flags for both SBIR reviewers and even your investors. So while your technology may have originated from a university, the perception that your company is just a side project or an academic shell can seriously undermine your credibility. If the university owns too much of the IP, holds significant equity in your company, or even if the founding team is fully employed by the institution with real no separation in time, space, or incentives, reviewers may question whether your startup is truly ready to execute. Again, these SBIR STTR grants are designed to fund early-stage independent commercial entities, not university R&D extension. Reviewers must be convinced that the startup is a real business, not a grant-seeking pass-through for academic research. So in your proposal, you must clearly demonstrate that your company is just more than a name on paper. And to do so, highlight full-time employees who are dedicated to the startup, even if it's just 1 or 2 people from the start. Include a separated physical space for work, whether it's a lab office or even a co-working space with a unique address distinction from your university. Define your operations as a small business, such as the registration, banking accounts, IP licensing agreements, and payroll systems, and an independent website or email domain. And these cues can help reviewers see that you're building a venture, not just seeking another grant. Bottom line, for SBIR and STTR reviewers to take your proposal seriously, they must believe that your startup has a life on its own, with its own people, its own space, its own operations, and a clear path for commercial success. The more proactive you are to creating those boundaries, the stronger your proposal and startup will be. So if you found any of these tips helpful, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel so that you can learn new ways to keep your equity throughout your fundraising journey. And don't forget to check out our website at keepyourequity.co, where you'll find more resources, advice, and templates how you can secure non-dilutive funding. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in a video very soon.